Pyram King, and I hope you're having a great holiday season and preparing for your New Year's Eve, whatever you're doing with your friends and family. Thought I'd make this video to do a 2023 year in review, talk about all the things that we did, and also take a look at what to expect in 2024. I got a lot of stuff to talk about here. Really excited to share it with you. Now, before we get started, a huge shout out to you, the supporters making all of this happen. If it wasn't for your support, there would be no video guides, there would be no PDF guides, bonus content, artwork, voice acting sound files, and certainly no Foundry adventure modules. But I don't do this alone. I have a team of some amazing people that make all of this come alive so that you can have a wonderful experience in Legends of Barovia and the future project that we're going to be launching next year. So why don't I take the time now to introduce you to our team that makes it all happen. First up, we have Crypto Keiju and Hawks Talon. You probably know these two individuals. They're on our Discord server. They're not just Discord moderators. They are the support staff helping people with Foundry-related questions, Legends of Barovia questions, 5th edition. Between these two guys, they probably have the largest library of role-playing games that I know out there. I mean, they're constantly looking at new role-playing games, playing new games. I know Crypto Keiju is looking at running Legends of Barovia next year in Shadowdark. I'm really excited to hear about that. They're on our Discord server. They hail from the United States, both the East Coast and the West Coast. I hope they're having a wonderful holiday right now and a great New Year's. Big shout out to both of them. If you're on Discord, make sure to say hi to both of them. If you have any questions, these two guys have been amazing and made 2023 an amazing year. So big shout out to both of you. Next up is Tisu. Now, Tisu is our resident French expert. He hails from France. I was fortunate enough to have coffee with him in Paris. Last year, we talked about role-playing game and Legends of Barovia, and he's translating all of our content into French. And we have a rather large French community. In fact, we have a membership channel for all our members that speak French, which he's sharing content in French. Now, Tisu is also responsible for our beautiful new tokens that you're seeing released in the new PDF guides, the bonus content, and the new release of the Foundry Adventure modules. These are really beautiful. They really bring the world to life. I really can't thank him enough for all the time and effort he's put in, both to the translation and into the artwork, and helping our French community really enjoy Legends of Barovia. I don't know where he is. He's probably off on another adventure, probably in the French Alps. I hope he's having a wonderful time this holiday season and enjoying and getting ready for the new year. Wherever you are, hope you're having a great time. Now, next up, nothing would happen in our new guides without Jesse Winter. He's the editor in layout design for all the new PDF guide. All the new content you're seeing is edited by him. Now, Jesse Winter works for Dual Storytelling, a professional editing house in the United States, and mostly deal with works of fiction. However, this guy is not an ordinary editor. This guy also specializes in role-playing games, 5th edition, Pathfinder 2, you name it. He has a lot of content that he's edited on Drive-Thru RPG as well. He's steeped in on how role-playing games work, layout design, what stat blocks work, how they're designed. So the entire new PDF guides that you're seeing not only are being edited by Jesse, but also his layout and his stat blocks. I could not have done all of this work in the final release without him. He is also editing book 2 in my Destiny War series. We're in the copy editing phase right now of Assassin Awakes. Really excited to be releasing that next year in my book series. He hails from the United States, up in the Rockies. I hope he's enjoying some skiing and some winter sports, getting ready for New Year's. He's a big outdoor guy like myself. Huge shout out to Jesse. If you are interested in any editing, whether it's fictional books or role-playing games, I'm going to put a link down to Dual Storytelling down below. This guy is a rock star when it comes to editing content for role-playing games. Huge shout out to you. Hope everything's going well. Now, nothing would be happening in Foundry without Blair. He is literally the Foundry wizard. I'm really fortunate to have him on the team. He's been instrumental in helping me navigate through the different Foundry releases from Foundry 9 to 10, now Foundry 11, setting up our back end, working on all our redirects. And that reason that you're having such a smooth experience with our Foundry adventures is because of Blair. He does all this work on the back end that you don't get to see. And when I have a problem, I just send him a message and boom, he's on it really fast, turns it around, solves the problem. We actually moved servers this year. We moved redirects this year, and we did all of this without any disruption to the community. Now, Blair and I have been talking quite a bit back and forth over the last year about releasing Legends of Barovia in Pathfinder 2 or different systems, And he had this brilliant idea. Why don't we just create a system agnostic version? And so Blair came up with an idea on how to develop a one install that includes both a 5e import as well as a system agnostic import. We went ahead and tested it in December, releasing Count's Manor, which can be played as a Gothic Core one-shot or an introduction to Legends of Barovia, and it worked really, really well. We had an overwhelming response. I'm really excited to be working with Blair and launching next year all of Legends of Barovia with this system agnostic version. Blair hails from Australia, and so I hope he's having a warm winter holiday and preparing for New Year's. I know as I'm making this video, he's probably at a cricket match right now down in Australia. So Blair, hope you're having a great time. Actually, by the way, I want to share with you, Blair did something that's on my bucket list. This photo right here is him leaving Patagonia, heading to Antarctica. So Blair has been to Antarctica earlier this year. That's on my bucket list, is on my adventure bucket list. So I'm envious of him. He's got to tell me, give me some tips and everything, because I plan on going there sometime in the future. That's definitely on my bucket list. Big shout out to Blair down there. Now, my partner in this big adventure is none other than DM Andy. You probably already know who he is. He's the legendary map maker for Gothic Core, also making maps for Curse of Strahd and also Legends of Barovia. And DM Andy is a unique breed because not only does he take pride in his work like many, many map makers do, he's one of the few map makers that will go back and constantly tweak and update as he's improving his craft, adding new features and details in there. He's re-releasing right now the Village of Barovia with some new features, really making that artwork pop. He also likes to release multiple versions of his map for night effect, day effect, weather, snow, rain, mist, also different types of lighting. So he really takes his craft to another level. He's been instrumental in communicating with me about some ideas and concepts, providing inspiration for me to write content for Legends of Barovia. He's developed quite a few of the custom maps that you see in our adventure modules for Foundry, and there's no way I could have done any of this without him. DM Andy is technically my right-hand man in inspiration, ideas, and artwork that you're seeing in Legends of Barovia. We are working on a big project for next year. He's already started on it. I'm really excited to share it with you. DM Andy hails from the West Coast, from California in the United States out there. I hope he's having a sunny, warm time on the coast, enjoying his holidays and New Year's. My best to him and his wife. Hope they're having a great time. Thanks a lot, DM Andy, for making this a stellar and exciting year for me. Huge shout out to him. I'm going to put a link down to his Patreon page and Ko-fi page if you're looking for those 8K high resolution maps. You should definitely go on there and support him. And by the way, I mean, I talk with him on a regular basis. I know how he does his craft. We talk a lot about philosophy and concept. And I interviewed him this year so that you could see how he thinks, his philosophy, the tools that he uses, his process for developing these maps. He shows you some of the works in project progress. I'll put a link to that interview. It's a great interview with DM Andy. Definitely recommend watching it. Huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for making 2023 an amazing year. So let's talk about 2023 year in review. Now, the first thing I want to share with you, this is my first full year as a full-time year as a content creator. I took the plunge in January, dedicating 40 to 50 hours a week, actually more, sitting here behind the computer working on content, really releasing a final release of Legends of Barovia, working on some new projects as well. And in order to take this on full time, I had to do two important things to set off on this adventure, if you will. The first thing was updating how I wanted to engage with the community. Now, I had been on Patreon, I reviewed some other platforms, and I chose to move over to Ko-fi. And over the year, I've been getting quite a few comments from people and questions from other creative content creators. Did I like Ko-fi? How did it work out for me this year? Questions about the system. And they wanted to know, why did I leave Patreon? Why did I migrate from Patreon? By the way, I still have my Patreon up. I'm just supporting existing members on there. I hope everybody migrates over to Ko-fi. Well, the first thing is definitely cost. As a full-time content creator jumping into this full-time, every penny counts. This is my only source of income. So it's certainly important to me. Now on Patreon, there's the Patreon fees and platform fees and processing fees and charges and all that. And it's anywhere from 15 to 20% that they take out of this, whether it's directly of commissions or charges or whatever. Well, Ko-fi's $5 a month. And then I only pay for processing fees to PayPal or to credit cards, which is anywhere from 2.5% to 3%. So it's a huge, substantial savings. And when every penny counts, that was a really, really, no-brainer for me to jump onto the Ko-fi train. The second reason was Ko-fi offers an array of technology ways to interact with the community. Not only do they have a membership, just like Patreon, but they also have an online store, which I can set it to members only, non-members, pay what you want, free content. They have commissions on there. They have donations on there, and they have one-time support. They have monthly support. They have integrations with Twitch and integrations with YouTube. They're constantly adding new features and upgrades to it. And they were instrumental in helping me integrate it into my website. So all the different features to engage with the community was very important. And the third reason was Ko-fi's business model. And this will have something to do, and it'll make sense when I talk about the OGL later. Patreon business model is a content provider. As a content creator, I agree to a royalty-free, irrevocable license to Patreon. They have a royalty-free license to all my content on Patreon to do pretty much anything they want to with it in order for them to sell it. And as a Patreon supporter, you pay Patreon, the company, directly. Me, as the content creator on Patreon, request the money from Patreon after they take all those fees out. Ko-fi, on the other hand, has no license agreement. It's purely a software as a service. They charge me $5 per month. And when you purchase something from me or you become a donating member, that transaction is immediately and directly between me and you. There's no middleman. Nobody gets in the way. So it's a completely different business model. I'm far more comfortable not signing away royalty-free license agreements or irrevocable agreements, and also making sure that the transaction is directly between me and you and not some middle person. So those are the reasons that I left. The question was it successful? Now, my goal for 2023 was I left Patreon. I migrated from Patreon with almost 1,000 supporters on Patreon. And my goal was to reach about 800 Patrons or 800 supporters on Ko-fi. So looking around roughly 60 to 65, trying to get 60, 65 members per month, 2 per day or whatever. Did I hit that goal? Well, as of right now, as I'm making this video, I have exactly 1,687 supporters on Ko-fi. So I more than doubled my expectation. Huge, huge thanks to you. I was really nervous. Obviously, Ko-fi is the little minnow in the big pond. Patreon's the big boy out there. So for any content creators moving to Ko-fi, it didn't hurt, actually. I get to keep more money, integrated into the website. System works really, really well. And I have over 1,680 supporters. So that had no problem signing up on Ko-fi and doing that. So it's been really, really, really successful with Ko-fi. Now, in addition to Ko-fi, excuse me, I'm still getting over my holiday cold. I went ahead and launched a new website. And I know it's been out for the year. I launched it in January, but there are a couple of things on here that I think are important to highlight. First of all, if you click on Legends of Barovia, I have a list of all of the guides on here. So it makes it very easy for you to look for anything. So I have the PDF guides here, the bonus content, which are the tokens, the artwork, player handouts, and all the Foundry modules. This gets updated on a regular basis as new things get rolled out. So you can see the older version 9, version 10. This will be updated with version 11 as they come out. So if you want to find out what's available out there, and this links directly to Ko-fi. So if you want to download the Blue Water Inn Foundry version 10, you just click on this button. It loads up the Blue Water Inn on Ko-fi, and you can go ahead and download it. So it's integrated very well. Now, also on the website are the player handouts. If you want to look for any of the player handouts, it gives you some ideas of, it's a link to download them, plus where they're located at, some little tidbits and ideas for player handouts for Legends of Barovia. We also have a really nice interactive map. I don't know if you've actually seen this, but you can actually go to a map. This is DM Andy's map, and you want to click on Ravenloft, or you want to click on Village of Barovia. There you go, zoom into Village of Barovia. And this takes you right to the location on the website with everything. Oh, that actually takes you into Barovia. That's even cooler. I forgot, there's a map within a map. Okay, here's the Blood and Vine Tavern. You can click on there and it takes you right into the village of Barovia there, so you can download and watch any videos on there that you want. Now, last but not least, for all new members, if you haven't yet, I suggest visiting the FAQ on the website. It answers a lot of questions. How to install this? What versions of Foundry are you using? How do you put these together? How do I launch a support ticket? What is Ko-fi? All of those questions can be found out on our FAQ. Now, the other thing in 2023 is not, I had the goal of launching, my main goal was launching at least 2 final edited versions per month, with Jesse Winter doing the editing and layout, Tisu doing the tokens, DM Andy upgrading the maps. And those version 10s are made from the ground up in Foundry. The PDF guides are made, brand new PDF guides, and then from the ground up for those version 10. And to give you an idea about that process, the process itself between going through the editing, the artwork, Foundry, the final PDF, is anywhere from, depending on the size of the adventure, between 50 to 100 hours to do all of that. Now remember, the content's already written. I'm just taking it and editing it, getting some input from the community doing that. And so Jesse and I put a release schedule of 2 a month, and we've finished pretty much 70% of our content. We still have for 2024 Argynvost, Holt, Berez, Amber Temple, and Ravenloft to complete. Excuse me, complete for next year. And to suffice to say, I hit that goal. That was my main goal. But I did some other things this year that I was really excited about. The first thing that I did was I launched a series of interviews. I already mentioned one with people that were influential in the Curse of Strahd community. I was able to interview DM Andy, 2 other map makers and cartographers and content providers, which was Harrison. Harrison also is the moderator for the Curse of Strahd Discord, also works for the Mad Cartographer. He's also very well knowledgeable in Foundry. He was the inspiration to me in running Curse of Strahd in Foundry. I also interviewed Banos, a 3D map maker. He gets us a peek behind the scenes of using this 3D engine, designing Argynvost Holt. It's amazing. You should watch the video. And I also was able to interview. Here 2 other luminaries in our space, which was let me see here, Professor Dungeon Master. Oh, thought I had him in here. Here he is, Professor Dungeon Master. I'm interviewing Professor Dungeon Master here in 2023, and we talked about Ravenloft and how he runs it more of an OSR way. I first ran Curse of Strahd in. I played in it in 1980, so he has a lot of insight into that. I was also able to interview the dungeon coach who's running Curse of Strahd right now and also developing DC-20, which is a new role-playing game system. If you haven't watched those interviews, they're really good. I also interviewed 3 of the big content providers for Curse of Strahd, Dragna Carta, Lunch Break Heroes, as well as Wyatt Thrall, and all their content's available either on DriveThruRPG or on their websites or on their shops. But you should check out those interviews. I'll put a link down to the Curse of Strahd interviews down below. Last but not least, I also released in 2023 the Pillars of Ravenloft. This was a fairly large-scale adventure, included 3 releases, 3 huge maps, and it's within the Pillar of Ravenloft. It's for levels 8 to level 10. The final part 3, was just released here in December. It is in Foundry version 10 right now, playtest version. I'm getting some feedback for some players that are playing it. I also introduced the Shadow Fae. One of the big requests that I've received is for those groups that want to play a higher level beyond level 10, Curse of Strahd level 15, even up to level 20, and introducing the Shadow Fae opened up the opportunity to have another antagonist, another kind of evil character, CR 20 level character who goes towards the Amber Temple to release the Dark Vestiges. So really adding another element to it for those people that are interested in high level play. If you haven't watched that video, I'll put a link down below. It's a great adventure going up through the Pillar of Ravenloft. There's even a Shadow Dragon in there. There's some puzzles to solve. There's the Shadow Portal, and of course, the Shadow Fae with the secret entrance into the crypts of Ravenloft, down into the catacombs. So all in all, it was a really successful year. Now, there was a few bumps trials and tribulations along the way. And I thought it would be important to share those with you before we jump into 2024. The first thing that happened that really got me nervous was the OGL issue. That was Wizards of the Coast changing their open gaming license. It happened at the beginning of 2023. And I had just become a full-time content creator, and Wizards of the Coast is about to revoke the license and then change it to a revocable license, licensing fees, ownership of content. It was pretty prohibitive. And I was touch and go there for a couple of months. Am I going to continue to work on Legends of Barovia? I actually stopped working on Legends of Saltmarsh. I didn't know what was going to happen. For content creators, and I talked to a lot of content creators during this period, a lot of people didn't know what they were going to do. Are they going to pivot to another role-playing game system? Are they working on content right now for 5e? It was a very difficult and frustrating time, especially for someone like myself that had just jumped into this making content, making this my sole source of income. Enough said, though, because the good thing is, well, I believe in karma, and I also believe in the good nature of our role-playing game community that voiced their concerns. And Wizards of the Coast backed off and re-released everything under a Creative Commons license, which is irrevocable. So this was great news for me. It really gave me faith and inspiration to continue on the project of Legends of Barovia, and then eventually work on this new project for 2024. So it was touch and go there. The second thing that was a little frustrating for me, but I think it will get resolved, was I wanted to put all of the content for Legends of Barovia onto one universal platform for all of the members on here. And I had looked at a lot of platforms, Notion, Obsidian. I love Obsidian note-taking. I have that. But Legend Keeper is a great markdown world-building platform. I really love Legend Keeper. And I started working on that. And Legend Keeper was supposed to release an ability for me to export the content so that other people that can open a Legend Keeper account and import all of the content, the maps, everything, and then make any edits to it that they want. And that was the goal, is to have kind of this entire world of Legends of Barovia, be able to export it so that you can go ahead and put it on your platform. And the nice thing about Legend Keeper, you can have it on your tablet, on your computer. You can use it when you're playing in person. It's great if you want to use it. Even it has some features that integrates directly into Foundry. It's great if you're playing with Owlbear Rodeo. I mean, it is technically all of your content, maps, everything into one platform. So it's really nice. And so I started working on this and launching it, also working on Legends of Saltmarsh on there. But unfortunately, Legend Keeper did not release. They got delayed in releasing this export feature. It's view only. I spent a lot of time on my end with a person helping me integrate it for our legendary members so that they could see it. But it never got to the import export ability, only view only. I did talk to the owner of Legend Keeper several times. He's a great guy. It's a great product, and he, very much like myself, is a small shop in there. And so he's working on a lot of things. So it is expected to be rolled out in 2024. As soon as I get an idea of when it's rolled out, I will be refocusing and redoubling my effort to push all of the content for Legends of Barovia onto Legend Keeper. That means anybody can go ahead and import it into Legend Keeper, and you'll have everything on there instead of individual PDFs. I think it's a really great platform. So that was one of the little hurdles that I faced in 2023. The second two hurdles I faced in 2023 have nothing to do with anything but myself. In October, I was playing squash with a friend of mine, and I overextended and I actually totally snapped my Achilles tendon and ended up going to the emergency room and getting an operation and getting a cast. And initially I thought, hey, this is not so bad. I'll be in a cast in my leg and I'll be able to be really productive because it'll keep me at the computer. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that I had to take shots every day, blood thinning shots. And that part of the day I needed to keep my foot elevated above my heart because of the concern about thrombosis or something like that. And so I would work for an hour or so and then lay on the couch for an hour or so. So it really kind of created this fits and start and trying to get around. I live up, by the way, on the third floor of a 3-story walk-up. There's no elevator. And so going up and down 3 flights of stairs with a cast is not too fun. I remember when I first got home, because I didn't have any crutches, I had to climb up the stairs on my butt. And one of my neighbors came out and said, what are you doing? Quite embarrassing, actually. So suffice to say, I did get everything out I did in October and November, even though it was a little slow out there. And then I was struck with a really bad flu here in December. I'm usually a very healthy person. I'm a big outdoors person, hiking, swimming, all that kind of stuff. But man, I got my stomach kicked in by the flu. It was down for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. I did get out the pillars of Ravenloft. So all in all, it was a really successful year, other than my two being sick and my injury and the OGL thing. But it was a great year, and it all happened because of our team and our supporters. So huge shout out to you. So what can we expect for 2024? And the first thing I want to talk about is Foundry. So right now we are 70% done with the final versions. And when I mean final versions, I mean that Jesse Winter has edited them. We have the artwork, we have these maps, and we're rolling them out on V10 Plus, which is designed in V10, and they're compatible with V11. And when new versions of Foundry come out, we'll just update them. But for all intents and purposes, the final edition of the content is written, the stat blocks are done, the artwork is done. It's just updating for different Foundry versions. So we have for next year to finish Legends of Barovia, Argynvost Holt, Berez, Salinka Pass, Ember Temple, and Ravenloft. And that's pretty much it. We'll have that done by the first half of the year. We are on schedule for 2 releases per month in that final version. Now, I've decided for next year is to upgrade my platform. Since V11 is stable, most of our users are on V11 now. There's not a big difference from upgrading from V10 to V11. So starting next year, all of those new releases will not be in V10 Plus. They'll be in version 11 and system agnostic. As you know, we tested with Blair a system agnostic version. So all of Legends of Barovia will roll out as system agnostic. So what you're going to be seeing in January is the new final releases, which will be starting with Argynvost Holt in January. That'll be in V11 and system agnostic. There will not be a V10 version of that. And then starting at the very beginning from Gates of Barovia, Village of Barovia, the Crossroads, those will all be rolled out in V11 system agnostic. So starting in January, everything is going to be V11 and with system agnostic. So there's going to be a lot of production going on next year, a lot of updates in there. Now, I've gotten some questions about version 12. Version 12 has a lot of huge updates in the back end. Our resident expert Blair is looking into this. It's not going to be out for a while. There's not going to be a stable release for quite some time. So if you are going to be running Legends of Barovia system agnostic or 5th edition, version 11 starting in January will be the version to go with. I've been testing Monk's Active Tile Triggers, which is the only module that we use in this, and also the stable version of version 11. So starting in January, everything will be rolled out in version 11 system agnostic. Now, I've been asked about some additional content for next year for Legends of Barovia. There's only 2 slated for next year. I don't have the dates on when we're going to release those, but DM Andy and I have talked about that. The first one is the Mad Mage. We both want to release the Mad Mage. We're going to be talking about, where the location is, the map, how we're going to put this together, writing this adventure together, and him doing the artwork and the map and me doing the writing for that. I don't know what date that will be. DM Andy is working on a schedule for 2024. The second one, DM Andy's already prepared a map for me for this. I just have to do the writing for that, and that's the Habsburgs Manor. Now, if you're familiar with Legends of Barovia, the Habsburg is the family that ruled over Barovia before Strahd came. There's a lot of references to Lord Habsburg and his family, and what happened to them. And I have this their old kind of hunting winter manor set up in there. I'll be selecting a location. It'll be a side adventure, shooting right around for a level 6 to level 7 type of adventure there. So expect that sometime next year. And those are the only 2 content that we have planned for Legends of Barovia next year. So to sum that up, version 11, system agnostic for all of Legends of Barovia. It will be completed through Ravenloft by the first half of the year, and possibly 2 more updates for that. Now, let's talk about the big new project for next year. A lot of you already know about this for 2024, and that is Salt Marsh here. Here's a map. I got a map here of the screen of Salt Marsh. Now, Ghost of Salt Marsh is going to be a different animal than Legends of Barovia here. And it's going to be a different animal because the way it's designed. Now, Curse of Strahd is a campaign. It has a primary antagonist. There's an entire plot and storyline. So it's not just a setting, it's an adventure, it's a campaign. Ghost of Salt Marsh is more of a setting book with an anthology of some adventures which you can run in order or run them independently. But the one thing I really liked about Salt Marsh was the fact that it is a setting that I can really expand upon. Now, the settings takes place in the world of Greyhawk circa 576, I think it is. And the reason it takes place in Greyhawk is a couple of reasons. Number one, it's where Salt Marsh originally occurred, was in Greyhawk. Number two, it was Gary Gygax's original setting back in the 70s and the 80s. And number three, I played in the 1980s in Greyhawk. That was the world in which I explored, so I'm familiar with Greyhawk. And we placed a lot of our homebrew and existing module adventures in Greyhawk. The concept behind Legends of Salt Marsh is threefold. Number one is we want to flesh out Salt Marsh as an actual village and hub where where your player characters can explore. There's factions, there's all kinds of stuff going on in Salt Marsh, and it's a hub to launch adventures, whether it's your own homebrew adventures or if you want to run the series of adventures in Ghost of Salt Marsh, or some additional content that I run. And I think Salt Marsh is a great location to run this kind of village from because of the diversity, not only of the village, but of the topography around it. You've got marshlands, swamps, huge forests, mountain range, coastal areas, nautical adventures and islands, villages, forts, ruins. There's so much in a very close distance from Salt Marsh that really opens up the world to all kinds of amazing adventures in here. So the last year, you were able to see, I did some early releases. I released three different, Andy released the parchment map, and then I released three kind of hex world maps. We're looking at one of them right here. We have Salt Marsh in here. Then I have a bigger world map, and then I have kind of a coastal nautical map. Those are already completed. And I also started working on some background content, some lore from Greyhawk that weaves into Salt Marsh to really bring it alive. Now, the goal of the release is this. I'm releasing it in 3 phases. Some of them will be simultaneous. Phase 1 is the campaign guide and atlas. The atlas will contain all 4 maps, the 3 regional maps that I've created in DM Andy's parchment map of the village of Salt Marsh. This will also create some additional information about classes and races. There's specific classes and races that we're really tailoring for Greyhawk and Salt Marsh. It's pretty open up, but we really want to attach class and race to the history and the lore of the area. And we're creating subsequently a player guide that goes along with this. Additionally, I'm creating 2 initial rule sets I've already worked on pretty extensively. One is black powder rule set, so there will be black powder muskets and pistols. They'll do a lot of damage, but they'll be slow to reload. And then there will also be cannons as well. So the cannons on the ships and there'll be cannons in some of the coastal fortifications. The second set of rules is some nautical rules for sailing on the ship. And I really want to make these elegant and simple, not too complicated. But both of these things I think will be important in order to flesh out your adventures there. So that's phase 1. And phase 1 will be a living PDF document, an atlas, along with a living system agnostic 5e Foundry adventure. So it's going to come out in Foundry version 11, 5e and system agnostic, which will be the campaign and atlas guide along with a PDF. And they're constantly going to be updated as we develop content for Legends of Salt Marsh. Phase 2, which is also going to begin simultaneously, is fleshing out Salt Marsh. DM Andy is making individual locations of every single location in the village of Salt Marsh, from the tavern to the inn to the dwarf mining company. Each one of these beautifully rendered battle maps we are fleshing out with the NPCs. I'm putting in some roll tables, some quest seeds, some suggestions in here. And the idea is as we roll this out, Salt Marsh becomes a living, breathing village. that each one of these locations have unique NPCs there, some interesting story hooks and adventure hooks, some quest seeds in there, so that your player characters can live and breathe in Salt Marsh. Now I'm going to be rolling these out as individual PDF guides with individual version 11 system agnostic 5e versions. Once Salt Marsh is completed, I'll be looking at the scope of all of the locations, and my goal is, I can't commit to this at this point because it depends on the size, is once they're all edited by Jesse Winter, we got our final artwork done, is to compile them all into one install for Foundry of the village, the port village of Salt Marsh. So that's phase 2. We're going to be rolling out individual locations. Phase 3 is the adventure phase. Not only are we going to be revisiting the anthology of adventures in Ghost of Salt Marsh and looking at how can we tweak them, improve them, give them the legendary treatment like we did to Legends of Barovia, and then tie them together. I'm also looking at existing adventures out there that I think fit really well into the world of Greyhawk in the surrounding area, as well as Salt Marsh. For instance, if you're familiar with the old adventure in D&D called Treasure Hunt, it's actually a level 0 funnel adventure. It's very fun. I've played it a long time ago, but I think it'd be great to update for 5e. I want to include that. I also have Goodman Games updated for 5th edition. Keep of the Borderlands. I already have a location for Keep of the Borderlands. Actually, you can see it right here. It's right up here is where I was going to place it, just north of the Dunwater River up here along the forest. I looked at the topography and everything, and it fits really there. So if you're familiar with Keeps of the Borderlands, which is probably one of them, other than Curse of Strahd, Keep of the Borderlands is probably one of the most famous adventures in Dungeons & Dragons. It came out as the adventure in the box set back in 1980-81, and I've played it, and there's a lot of things to explore. Fits really well in here. There's a few other adventures that I've been looking at to add, as well as some of my own. So the goal here is, if you want to run a series of adventures, you can, or a series of one-shots, or if you want to run a West March style system using Salt Marsh as a hub. So that's the goal. Get the campaign guide and atlas out with some lore background, player race suggestions, the rule set for Black Powder, as well as the nautical rules in there. That, again, will be a living document that will be updated, as well as in Foundry. And then also phase 2 will be each of the locations in Salt Marsh, and phase 3 is rolling out the adventures. I don't have dates on any of these things yet. Demon and Andy are trying to get into a rhythm, work on a schedule of this release, but you can be sure the beginning of the year, you're going to start seeing that new content for Salt Marsh getting rolled out. I'm really excited about this. And this is where all my creative energy will be really focusing on Salt Marsh, while a lot of my production time will be rolling out the updates for Legends of Barovia. So that's the huge project for next year. I've been really spending a lot of time this year on it. Now, I have some other treats and some other surprises for 2024, but I don't want to share them with you yet. They're in various stages at this point. When they get closer done to a final stage, I will release that information, but you can be sure to see a lot of interesting stuff coming out. The final versions and the wrap up of Legends of Barovia and the launch of Legends of Salt Marsh for next year. I'm really excited. I'll be working with DM Andy on all those maps. Of course, my entire team that make all of this happen. Blair, Jesse, Atisu, Hawks Talon, and Crypto Keiju. And of course, Andy doing the maps. So I'm really excited about next year. And some more surprises for next year. Got some big things planned for next year. If you are not a member and you're watching this, please consider subscribing. There's a membership link down below. You get access to all of the Foundry content, all of the adventure contents, bonus content, voice acting sound files, so much more. So please consider joining. Also, even if you don't join, make sure to follow me on Ko-fi. I'll put a link down there to Ko-fi, but make sure you follow me because I'm constantly rolling out updates and news. I do a monthly update every month about what's coming out that month and a recap of the previous month. So if you want to keep updated what's going on, follow me on Ko-fi. Also, join me on Discord. I put announcements on Discord every time something new comes out. It's announced also on our Discord server. If you want to contact me, the best way to do so is on Discord. I'm on there all the time as I'm working, chatting with people on there. As long as I'm sitting at the computer, which I am 50, 60 hours a week. But I'm very fortunate. I really hope 2024 becomes as amazing and as successful as 2023. I really couldn't have done this without you. So big shout out to all of you and a big thank you. And what I want to do here is say a big thanks to my legendary supporters here. Trying to work my Stream Deck here, so I apologize. But here is my legendary supporters signing me off for a great year in 2023, and hoping we have a great year in 2024.